One is that you're able to deliver virtual care and get the feedback on how the patient's doing. And then you can also capture the revenue aspect of it too.
Well, hey, Scott, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ravi. How are you?
Doing all right. Like you said, it's a Friday, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful day here. And hope it's
Yes.
there for you as well.
Well, it's a little rainy, but can't complain. I want to talk with you about vestibular rehab and technology and kind of the convergence between those two. But before we dive too deep into that topic, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what brought you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I am a registered nurse first and foremost. Although I left the bedside in 2007, really delved into healthcare technology at that point. Had my master's in health informatics and spent a lot of my time focused on bringing healthcare to the patient, delivery outside the four walls and the hospital and clinic, in a combination of in-person and telehealth. I believe we need to meet the patients where they are, but we can't replace the clinicians. They need that hands-on time with them and build those relationships with the patients. So I spent quite a bit of time with a hospital at home company startup. I've done a lot of consulting with startups focused on alternative care delivery, whether that's virtual care. Worked with the food as medicine company, helping them on some of the process associated and workflow optimization. And then I was brought in to help a venture studio in Nashville to take a look at technology around vestibular rehabilitation. They decided to make an investment in a company and asked me to come on board as the CEO.
Oh, nice. All righty. And what is the name of that company?
So our company is TheraVista Health.
Okay.
We are focused on delivering vestibular rehabilitation exercises that physical therapists will manage and apply to their patients.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, what made you want to dive into the vestibular rehab space in particular, or is it just the opportunity that presented itself? It looked cool, and you dove in.
I think it's a combination of all the above.
Okay.
I'm always looking for things, ways to help deliver better care. And as a nurse, I feel like working in healthcare technology, I'm still having an impact on patients and providers' lives by helping them deliver the care. But it's a little personal for me too. When I first heard about the company, I thought about my wife's grandmother who died shortly after her 90th birthday of pneumonia. She was super active, but she had an episode of Meniere's disease and didn't get out of bed for 3 days.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, she developed pneumonia and unfortunately passed away from that. And I have an 86-year-old mom too. And I visited with her in an assisted living facility, and she had a 15-page booklet on how to do her vestibular exercises, which I know she has not touched.
Yeah,
She probably had the
exactly.
best intentions in the world, and I know therapists and facilities like that are super busy, so they do the best they can. And why not give them a tool that not only can patients perform the exercise, but it gives the therapist an opportunity to look into how the patients are actually performing, giving them that visibility. Hence the name TheraVista, view into therapy.
Yeah, yeah. So, I guess tell us a little bit about the app in particular, because that'll help drive some of the conversation. So, it's an app. It's on a tablet. How does it work, and what is like kind of what's the goal of the app? Is it to drive efficiency, increase the continuity and care, or improve it, or patient engagement, all of the above? And we'll kind of go from there.
It's really all the above. So
Okay.
we've taken four traditional exercises or manual exercises that physical therapists could program for a patient. VOR times one, pitch and yaw. We have a weight shifting, and then we also have a balance exercise. And then the therapist can control that through our clinician portal. The different settings like contrast between the foreground and background. They can also adjust the length of time of the exercise, the number of times a day that they perform those, and the number of sets that they do. And with this, the patient is given the tablet in the clinic. They go home with it. They perform the exercises according to the program that has been created by the physical therapist. And then the therapist can see their adherence to the
Yeah.
program. So they can see, are they doing it? Where are they struggling with it? Where are they giving up? Are they doing it for the right length of time? But not only that, they can gain the insights that they need to apply for remote therapeutic monitoring reimbursement. So it's twofold. One is that you're able to deliver virtual care and get the feedback on how the patient's doing, and then you can also capture the revenue aspect of it too.
Yeah. From like RTM and the like, right?
RTM, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Um, Okay, so that kind of lays it out. And the app itself, the treatment and the exercises are gamified, correct?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that's really fun about this too is that we took the manual exercises were about gaze stabilization, which typically it's somebody's holding a finger out front of them or holding an index card and they're moving their head through the different planes. And we've changed it up a little bit. And if you think back to We Fit, how you could use your
Yeah.
body and use the motion capture to control a character on the screen. Ours is a little bit different since we're focused on gaze stabilization. Our algorithms using the forward facing camera on the tablet are really focused on the patient's eyes and making sure that they're stable as they move through different planes. So we have Devin the dolphin that you're trying to train her to compete in the Ocean Olympics. And so she goes through a series of exercises such as dodging pillars left and right, going up and down, dodging additional pillars, as well as trying to collect coconuts if you are doing weight shifting. And then finally, the dolphin standing on a pedestal. Think about like a trying to bounce a ball on her nose, and she's doing that, making sure she keeps her core stable. And we have visual cues to help them resume or return their body to midline.
Yeah. So and all that gamification, the goal there is patient engagement, right? Versus like
Yeah.
this more maybe a traditional or like a clinician looking app or clinical looking app. You're trying to get the patient out of like, oh man, these are some exercises that, Rafi's making me do versus maybe trying to get them to almost compete with themselves, right?
Exactly. It's that incentive and creating accountability with the patients because they want to improve their score every single time. And it's something really soft. If you think about it, dolphins, very approachable. Um, I have an extensive experience in user research and user experience. So I always keep in mind what is most efficient for the clinician from the portal side, but also from the patient, what's going to create that stickiness and cause them want to do what they're supposed to be doing is, there's a reason why we're here, right? We want to treat patients. We want them to get better. And if we can give the patients the tools to keep them engaged and motivated to perform the exercises, they're going to do better and they're going to get better.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so what do you say? We get this a lot, and you're kind of square in the crosshairs here because you're running a tech company. What do you say to clinicians who are, you're bringing this tool in, this app in, and they're seeing it as either, oh man, this is going to reduce the number of visits that I'm going to get out of a patient, or even worse, like the technology is going to replace me and replace my clinical judgment. What do you say to clinicians who have those kind of worries about integrating something like this into their treatment program? Because vestibular rehab is a very specialized treatment. Clinicians are going to get certified in this, and they don't want to see their job security vaporized with the institution of an app or something.
Yeah. So we're not direct to consumer, so you can't come to us and try to buy it. So
There's
keep
that.
that in mind. Yeah, there is that. That's exactly right. But I think that we are very purposeful in knowing that there's a relationship between the patient and the provider. I'm a firm believer in healthcare is local, and I think you
Yeah,
need to have that resource available because look, no matter how great the patient is, no matter how great the provider is, but you still need that interaction and that coaching and motivation and a little tweaking. If a patient's doing their VOR exercises and the head is tilted slightly to the left or to the right, you need the clinician to help them, correct those micro movements. And I think that's super important. But at the same time, our app doesn't record audio or video, so you don't have to worry about the privacy of the therapist actually seeing the patients how to perform it. We're using the camera and measuring angles with machine learning algorithm to calculate when they're performing the exercises and how well they're doing that.
yeah. So it's almost looking at the technology as kind of like a clinician enabler or force multiplier rather than something that's going to usurp or put them
Yeah.
out of the picture, right?
It's totally supplementing what they're doing. It's another tool, just like you
Yeah,
give a patient therapy bands or you give them a squeeze ball to help with it. But with our tool, it's a benefit for the therapist because they get to see the insight and how the patient's actually performing. Otherwise, it's you're relying on the patient to self-attest, like, yep, I did my exercises when, you know, 40% of patients drop out of therapy within the first 3 sessions. So
yeah.
then how can you keep them motivated so they come back and they can see results in between those visits?
Yeah. And have y'all used this used the app with patients yet? Is it rolled out, or can people use it? What's the deal there?
Yeah, absolutely. It is live.
All right.
We have it in a few clinics right now. We just started December of last year, so we're super new, but the technology and the research has been going on since 2018. It's been validated and published on. The
Wonderful.
other thing that I think is really important to understand is that we are working closely with therapists to expand the offerings. We think vestibular platform is great for vestibular balance, and it's not just limited to people with diagnoses of vertigo and other vestibular conditions. We've
Yeah.
seen it used on Parkinson's patients. You know, any patient that's suffering from balance symptoms can benefit from our platform.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, that takes care of the question of like, when can clinicians expect this to be live? What tell us a little bit then about some of the, I guess, some of the outcomes that you've seen. It's about 10 months, 10 months that it's been live and being used by patients. Like, are you noticing maybe higher satisfaction rates, or maybe decreased number of visits, or, I guess just talk about some of the results you've seen implementing a technology like this in vestibular rehab.
Yeah, we're not focused on necessarily, and our clients aren't necessarily focused on decreasing the number of visits. What we're really focused on is the patient engagement aspect. Are they
Yeah.
performing the exercises like they're supposed to? I get so excited when I hear anecdotal stories from our therapists. Like we have patients who are non-compliant in the clinic when they come in for therapy. They're non-compliant in the home, but we give them the tablet and they're doing the exercises.
Yeah.
And you can see their eyes. They're able to focus on the dolphin as opposed to staring at their finger right in front of them or a square on the refrigerator. So those are the types of things that really get us excited, is that the patients are excited and wanting to use the platform.
Yeah. And that hopefully trickles down to all the other things, the outcomes, everything like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. And
So
it's building trust too
yeah.
with the clinicians and creating that stickiness too for that practice too, that they're getting, referrals, and it's like, such and such clinic was able to help me out with my balance disorders, and then they go back and tell their referring providers, the PCPs, neurologists, et cetera, that these things are really helping them.
Yeah, it's interesting how that in and of itself ends up being like a market differentiator, right? Like, if patients go back to their referring doctor and they're like, "Hey, I went and saw so and so, and now I'm better,"
Right, right.
it drives more referrals for the business, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you see a guy playing golf and he just had a knee replacement, wow, you're out here quick. Who
Yeah,
did that? The same thing too with is people thinking about worrying about their balance, especially when you think about aging.
yeah. Um, Okay. Tell me a little bit about then, like, maybe some of those reporting features on the clinician facing piece of the app. Are they able to log in and see, like, okay, Rafi, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he did it, and he did it for 30 minutes or 15 minutes? Like, I guess, what's the reporting features that the clinicians can expect to see on the back end?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. They can see when the patients perform the exercises and what is their percent adherence. If they had 20 sets prescribed and they only did 15, then you'll be able to see that they did 75% of those exercises for that. And you can export that as well and use that in your practice management system. But also, too, they're able to make adjustments on the fly, which is
Okay, yeah,
really fun. So, like if you see somebody struggling with the pitch exercise. Maybe you need to slow it down a little bit for them, the degrees per second for that. Maybe you need to increase the contrast between the foreground and background because they're reporting symptoms through the app for that. And it's almost near real time. So the therapist makes the adjustment and instructs the patient to log out the app and log back in because the tablets are cellularly enabled. Then they're able to have those new settings and proceed on with their therapy.
yeah. Well, and that's in my mind one of the things that's like super beneficial is the fact that it's like almost hyper individualized, right? The clinician is seeing it in real time. Okay, Rafi's having issues with this, I'm going to change it,
Yeah.
instead of having to wait for, they're coming in once a week or twice a week, to waiting a couple days, and then the patient saying, oh, I did this exercise and it didn't work, or I had symptoms or whatever. Now you're making adjustments, 24, 48 hours later, instead of right then and there.
Absolutely. And the opposite of that too, that the patient's like crushing it. It's like, okay, now it's
Yeah.
time to make it a little bit more difficult for you to accelerate your outcomes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right. Anything else that we should know, could know, would be interesting to know about this?
Yeah, I think it's great that our partners, CFD Research in Huntsville, Alabama, they do work for NASA, DoD, and healthcare.
Okay.
They're working on now taking a version of this. They received a Department of Defense grant to take this to apply it to the military because a
Oh,
lot of the
awesome.
people in the military are suffering from um, vestibular disorders, primarily related to blast injuries,
Yeah.
PTSD, concussions, etc. And so I'm excited to work with a partner that's not only built out the research associated with this, but how can we leverage it to reach more and more people?
Yeah. No, and that's a population for sure that historically has been underserved, and no one, blast injuries and all of that is very difficult. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we have them. So we want to
Well,
make sure we
and
can help them get right.
yeah, with PTSD and migraines, et cetera, like that, it's so hard to provide a tool that they can benefit from, and that's our ultimate goal is to help them to either return to service or be symptom free.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Scott, thanks so much for being on the show. If people want to find out more about you, about TheraVista, where can they go and do that? Connect with you, or learn more about the app and the platform itself?
Yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Scott Fredrick. That's Frederick, and TheraVista.health is our website. And I'd love to connect and chat with you and do a demo and show you what we're all about.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll connect to those or link to those in the show notes. So thanks so much, Scott. Have a good day.
You as well. Thank you. Bye bye.